Yep, it's Steve, an old Yorkshire geek, and a bit of news. It's not new news, but I've just stumbled across it. I thought it were new until I saw the date, but never mind. Ridley Scott's been opening his big fat mouth again. But before we get into all this, don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already, and all that jazz. Become a member, throw some money at me in the form of super thanks, and what else? Buy some merch from the merch store, blah, blah, blah. Right, let's get on with this article, shall we? This is from, I forgot where it's from. Total Film, Games Radar. It's from Games Radar / Total Film, that's where it's from. Right, here we go. Emily Garbutt and Matt Mayton. Why did it take two people to write an article? I don't know. Maybe somebody did the interview and maybe somebody else wrote the article. I've no idea. Ridley Scott says he thought the Alien franchise was done after Resurrection. I thought the old beast had worn out, says the doddery old beast. I'm sorry, but maybe he's talking about himself. Ridley Scott, yeah, is the greatest of all. Well, not the greatest. One of the greatest directors, or the most well-renowned. I'm not a particularly a Ridley Scott fan, to be completely honest. But he's a good director. Let's just say that. He's a good filmmaker. But he loves sniffing his own farts, doesn't he? I suppose to get to that status, I suppose you've got to have an ego, haven't you? And he has got one. Right, exclusive. Ridley Scott admits he wrongly thought the franchise had run out of steam. Like I said, this is from a couple of weeks ago. But I just stumbled across this article today, so what can I say? And there's Sigourney Weaver as Ripley in the first Alien film aboard the Nostromo. I think she's trying to get through to Antarctica control. Why would you have control in Antarctica? I don't know. You'd think it'd be in orbit or something. Why did she say gateway or something like that? Don't know. Alien director Ridley Scott has admitted that he thought the sci-fi horror franchise had run its course after 1997's Alien Resurrection. I bet he doesn't even know the Alien vs Predator films exist. I bet he don't. And some people would say that's fair enough, but I don't mind them, to be completely honest. I think they're like wrongly hated. They're not the best films ever, but they do what it says on the tin, don't they? Anyway, but Prometheus proved him wrong. No, it didn't. Prometheus, although I didn't mind Prometheus, it did no favours to the Alien franchise. Let's put it that way. Quote, I think wrongly on Alien, I thought the old beast had worn out. Because when we did the first set of films, it was me, Jim Cameron, David Fincher, and the French guy. So you don't even know his name, Jean-Pierre Jeunet. I bet you don't even know what other films he'd done, like City of Lost Children and stuff and all that jazz, Delicatessen. Anyway, there were 4. They wore out. It's not mentioning Alien vs Predator. The beast wore out, Scott tells Total Film in our new issue. But I disagree with him there because I liked it. I liked Alien Resurrection, even though a lot of people. That's it. I'm one of these weird people that goes against the grain of public opinion. If I like something, I'll say I like it, and I liked Alien Resurrection, but I wasn't a big fan of Alien 3. And a lot of people say, "Oh, it's better than you think. Watch the work cut or whatever, assembly cut or whatever the hell it's called." It doesn't make a huge amount of difference to me. I think it's just a depressing film. The Alien franchise is not supposed to be a barrel of laughs, but Alien 3 took it way in the wrong direction, in my opinion. But anyway, the beast wore out. Scott tells Total Film in our new issue out on Thursday, September 12th, back then, which features the penguin on the cover. Another series I'm not bothered about. But anyway, although I didn't mind Gotham. A lot of people say, "Oh, Gotham were rubbish." I didn't really mind it, but I didn't love it. Anyway, and in a funny kind of way, I found the beast partly by accident, he goes on. I won't do the Geordie. He's still got his slight Geordie accent, hasn't he? I bet he had a big cigar in his hand as well, in his mouth, while they were doing the interview, because he thinks he's bloody Cecil B. DeMille or something, doesn't he? I don't know if Cecil B. DeMille had a big cigar, but anyway. Without that alien, see, I'm rambling. I got picked on for rambling, and I do tend to ramble. But anyway, I'm a rambling, annoying git. I can't help it. Without that alien, you wouldn't have ever had this film. It's on about the first Alien, obviously. With all the great casting in the world, when you have a film where it's about being locked in with a creature, you better have the creature right. It can't be the creature from the Black Lagoon. But it was. The alien costume, it was a costume, when all said and done, was still a man in a suit, wasn't it? It was. It was still a man in a suit. Don't ask me his name, I've forgotten. Badejo, his last name. I can't remember his first name. But it was a man in a suit. So it was the creature from the Black Lagoon, just with sticky bits on and a tail, and a big motorbike. Well, a motorcycle, petrol tank on, fuel tank on his head. Anywho, and so many of these things are terrible, and it hangs on what the monster is, and also how you play with it. When mostly less is always better for tension. It's talking about, you don't need to see it front and centre. You can get fleeting glimpses and stuff like that, or just not see it at all and just use music and atmosphere to build up the tension and the scares. Anyway, and it's easier to have a film that's blood and gore with no tension. I tried to avoid that, and so it died. What's he talking about? So what died? I'm sure he's going senile. Honestly, genuinely, because he's not the youngest fella, is he, in the world? Says me. But he's a lot older than me. I mean, how old were I when the first Alien came out? I was 12, so he's a lot older than me. Anyway, so I don't know. And so it died. I don't know what he means. Does it mean the first film? I don't know. The first film, we found out, haven't we, in Alien Romulus, it didn't die, did it? Anywho, it carries on, and I sat and thought, what a pity, because this is a huge franchise, maybe biggest apart from Star Wars and Star Trek ever, with legs. I don't think so, mate. Although it's popular, but I don't think it's up there. Honestly, don't. I think Terminator's, more popular franchise. I mean, people know the Alien franchise, but I don't think it's up there with the biggest of all time. In my opinion. Probably wrong. Show me stats in the comments. They'll be there, won't they? And they'll be proven wrong, because I'm an idiot. Because there's still a long way to go with it. So I sat down with Damon Lindelof, bad robot acolyte, mystery box expert. Don't get me started. Actually. So I sat down with Damon Lindelof, actually. We sat down at a table and spun a wheel to see where could we go, and it all began with Prometheus, which was the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning, or whatever you want to call it. Alien prequel Prometheus was released in 2012 and was followed by Alien Covenant in 2017, which were bloody awful. The latest instalment in the franchise, Alien Romulus, which could have been good, but because Ridley Scott had his bloody thumb in it, they had to dredge up Prometheus and the black goo and all that stuff, and the black goo that were in Covenant, and they were in Prometheus as well. But they had to dredge that back up, didn't they? Anyway, and was released last month and takes place between the events of 1979's Alien and 1986's Aliens. Alien Romulus, blah 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 blah. Just telling us that it's out in the movie, and you can read more of the article in the printed magazine. But again, I think he's talking out of his bum. He don't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know that Alien vs Predator films exist. Some might say that's a good thing. But what does he mean? I tried to avoid that and so it died. Is he trying to say he tried to avoid it in the first film, which makes his film the best of all, and all the others didn't do that? They just laid on the gore and the action and no tension and all that stuff. And so the franchise died. Is that what he's trying to say? Where I think he's wrong. 100% wrong. I think it died because just the public moved on, and the public didn't really like. And it started with Alien 3. A lot of people didn't like that film, and that sort of like carried over into Alien Resurrection, which I think were a much better film than Alien 3. And I really enjoy Alien Resurrection, and I like the Ripley in that, even though it's not original Ripley. It's spoilers if you're not seeing it. It's a clone of Ripley. Who's part alien, so she has like acidic blood and she's kind of strong and she can throw basketballs into hoops without looking in real life. But after that, I don't think that made a huge amount of money. So the franchise, they thought, well, we'll leave it there. But then the Alien vs Predator films came out, and Alien vs Predator did really, really well. I think it might be Paul W. Anderson's highest-grossing movie. I think it could. I might be wrong, but it could be. It might even be the highest-grossing Alien movie. There's something about it. It did really well, unexpectedly, which is why they did Alien vs Predator 2, Alien vs Predator Requiem, which wasn't as good. But again, I don't think it was as bad as people made out. But it could have been better. It could have been better, and it's not as dark as people make it out to be. Although it is dark because it's set at night mostly, or in a sewer. But it's still not as bad, I don't think, as people make out. But anyway, so there we go. I'm going to bring up the bloody Predator films then, the Predators and all that. But that's a different thing, isn't it? But anyway, I think he's talking out of his bum, and I'm waffling again, and I'm rambling, and it just annoys me because, as I said, he'll sit there with his cigar, sniffing his own farts as well as his cigar smoke, thinking he's the best thing since sliced bread. Ironically, one of the first things he directed was a Hovis advert. So speaking of sliced bread, but he does. He thinks it does me head in, and he's got to have all this creative input. I know he's a director, and directors have to be creative to a certain degree, but he's in there doing things what he thinks is best or best for the movie. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. But he gets on my nerves, and I don't think his films. As I said, I'm not a huge Ridley Scott fan. I think his films tend to start off well, dip in the middle, you lose interest, you're looking at your phone, whatever. You lose. It's going a bit like my videos, and then they usually pick up again towards the end. And I find that generally with all of his films. I think his best film's Gladiator. But people going about Blade Runner. I've never been a huge fan of Blade Runner. I do like it, and the music and effects are amazing. But again, that's a film that I think it dips badly in the middle. And but anyway, and I think he struggles with characterizations. I don't think you feel a lot for his characters. That's just me. People are going to disagree in the comments from now until the cows come home. So anyway. So there he's saying, he's in that interview that you can read in Total Film that he thought the old beast had worn out, which I think he's talking about himself. I think he ought to retire. To be completely honest, I think he ought to retire and stop making films, and stop producing films. Just go and live in a villa somewhere, and just live out the rest of your days. You don't have to still be in the movie making business. Maybe I'm just being a miserable old bugger because it's Sunday. I don't know. But, what films have you made? I haven't made any. And I don't get paid millions and millions of dollars and pounds and euros and whatever, starbacks, to make movies. But I can still complain about them if I want to. And complain about the people that make the films if I want to. Which is what I'm doing here. So, I think he's 100% wrong. I don't think the old beast had worn out. I think Alien Resurrection were a good reboot of the franchise because it took it into the future, 200 years or whatever after Alien 3, and it could have continued the Alien franchise onwards and upwards, so to speak. But they decided not to. They decided to do Alien vs Predator, and then he decided to get involved again and give us Prometheus, which, while I don't mind it as a film, I don't like it as an Alien film. And then he went on to contradict himself with Alien Covenant, saying that it was the android David, or whatever the hell his name is, Michael Fassbender, that created the facehuggers and the xenomorphs that we know, but yet we'd seen one in a Giger-esque carving in Prometheus. So he obviously didn't create them, did he? Did he? Some say, he didn't create them, he just improved them. How did he improve? How did he improve from just being on a planet and having this spore go in your ear and then a fully grown alien coming out of you? How's that improving it? I don't know. Turning it into a facehugger and a chest burst, how is that improving it? Don't know. I'm rambling again because it gets me cross. It gets me cross. And Alien Romulus, although it's doing well at the box office, it's not great. It's okay. It's okay. I'll leave it at that. But it spoils it because it brings in the Prometheus stuff. They should have ignored that. They should have just told their own thing. But anyway, right, we'll leave it there. I've done rambling. That's it. I've done rambling now. I've got my Ridley Scott rant out of the way. Stop making films and stop producing films. Go and retire with your cigars. Thanks for watching. Wherever you are, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see you.